We all love sight fishing. How about sight fishing for shallow water spring pike? The big esox of the lake. Super fun. I'm going to show you one of my favorite flies called the whistler that'll put more pike in your boat next spring. All right, now we're going to tie one of my most effective sight fishing pike flies called the whistler. It's an effective, very basic pattern that fished slow to fish in shallow water. It lands softly, doesn't create a big commotion, and it's got a lot of movement. It can be taken as a bait fish, taken as a leech. It just looks really fishy. It's used for many species, including saltwater, and can be tied in a variety of colors. We're going to tie one of my favorite color, which is almost all black. As you'll see, you know, if you fish with me, a lot of my sight fishing flies are very basic. You know, black colors, something simple, good contrast in the water. So let's get started. We're going to use a size 1/0 B10S. A stinger style hook. It's got a great shape, strong hook. It is a good long shank to create a good profile on the fly as well. So we're going to start just up by the hook eye, and I should mention we are also using some like 70 denier thread. I think this is called the power thread. It's pretty strong stuff, so you can cinch down your material well. We're going to go back to the point of the hook. We're going to stop and tie in our first material, which is going to be the Polar Flash. I think it's called like Black Rainbow. It's a pattern. It's a flash that I don't use for much else really, but it's really effective on this fly. It's kind of a mix of black, silver, gold, purple, blue. It's really fishy. So we're going to take off a pretty good amount because this fly utilizes a lot of flash. So we're going to tie it. The fly finished is going to be about 4.5, 5 inches long. Not a giant fly by any means. Tie it in the middle and then pull that around to double up the thickness. I think we got enough there. Maybe add a little bit more. Burn through a lot of flash on this fly. But even though it's a lot of flash, it's not overpowering. The main color in this flash is actually a bit of a glossy black flash fiber. So it's not in their face to, being too bright. Cool, that's about perfect. In order to stop your flash from wrapping around your hook on every cast, we're going to utilize some black bucktail, kind of tied all around the fly, all around the flash material to provide a bit of a prop and keep it from getting tangled. So you can, again, tie this in many colors, but black has been my best. Pretty good pinch. I'm going to take out the longest fibers and kind of restack them. Just hand stacking. You don't need to use an actual hair stacker with this fly. It's not that important. That's pretty good. And we're going to tie that about a hook shank and a half or so long and spread it around the hook shank, the loose wrap, and then some tight wraps. And we're going to do one on this side as well. And then I'm going to wrap down the bucktail a little bit just to really make sure it's in there tight. I'm going to do like 3 loose wraps and then a straight pull down. Yeah, 3 loose wraps and then a pull down. And then I'm going to back up over this little bump to smooth it out. I tied that fly a little bit far back, so I ended up pushing it forward a little bit just to get it in the right spot. There we go. So you're gonna have a little bit of hackle kind of wing on either side of the fly here, just for some added movement. All right, I'm gonna taper this out so that when I wrap my multiple pieces of hackle, one wants to keep twisting, it'll have a nice easy transition down to the eye of the hook. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna utilize some lightweight weight to sink the fly, so bead chain. This is in the extra large size. It's pretty heavy duty, but it's not gonna be enough to turn the fly over. So it'll still ride, for the most part, hook point down. You can utilize lead eyes on this if you're fishing and fishing the fly on the bottom and want the fly to get down deep. I'll fish it with lead eyes and expect the fly to invert. But whenever I'm tying in any sort of dumbbell eye, I'm gonna create a little thread dam, like a little ball, the back half for the eyes to press up against, and then I'm going to put one in front of it as well. And then there's going to be two little peaks basically, and I'm just going to throw the eyes in between, and that'll keep it from spinning as much more secure wrapping. After I do a bunch of wraps, I'm going to come underneath the eyes and pull up against them. Perfect. One feather wants to lay sideways. That's okay. Okay, so now basically to finish off the fly, we're going to use schlappen and just lots of it. So it's going to be, I'm going to guess, at least 2, maybe 3 feathers wrapped forward. I'm going to do it in by the tip. And this will create a nice fishy kind of head shape when it's sinking, with making sure we're stroking back all the fibers at the same time, every wrap. It's a fly that I don't often search for fish with. It doesn't move a lot of water. So not saying you couldn't catch them that way, but you're gonna have to work a lot harder with a lot more casts to get the fish to find it. But it is in my top few for actively sight fishing to a fish, to a pike. Also, it is a great bass fly too. Fishing it in different sizes maybe. I mean, that's definitely, any bass could eat that as well. But I'd probably fish it a little bit smaller. Personally. A lot of the time, this fly will catch fish on the strip, so you're going to throw it to a pike and you're going to let it get down to its level roughly and have a nice slow, leechy type strip, slow and methodical. 1 foot pull, 1 foot pull, one after another. But if you ever have a situation where you get a fish that just follows and follows and won't commit, it doesn't hurt to just let this hit bottom and let it sit in front of them for a while. Cold water, in like the 50-degree range. The fish are slow moving, and sometimes they just want something just right in front of them. So don't be afraid to fish this nice and slow and let it hit the bottom. Although they're apex predators, they just can't turn down a meal sometimes when it's dropped on their face. I think we need one more. Can't really overdo it with the hackles here. And wrap in front of the eyes, cut your head, and we're going to whip finish. Fly gets its name because when it's being cast, the bead chain eyes will whistle with those little holes in the air and create a pretty obvious noise. Don't think that noise translates underwater, but it's a very slow falling fly, good bait fish profile. Majority of it's natural materials, but materials that shed water quickly. So casts easy, accurate, lands with pretty much no splash, and you just can't go wrong with black when you're sight fishing often for big spring pike.